Hey, go ahead, do it. See if I care. You ever said that to anyone? Now, if you did, you know you actually meant the opposite of what you said. You do care. You don't want them to do it. So why did you say it? Because that's a rhetorical device. That is, it's a way of trying to get the attention of someone who is mule-headed, too stubborn to pay attention when you just speak to them plainly. So you tell them something else. It's like the frustrated mother who is tired of time and time again having to yell at the kids, "Get out of the street. I told you don't play in the street." Finally, what do you say? "Hey, go ahead. Play in the street, get run over by a car, see if I care." Now, what you're hoping is that when you said that, they finally pick up on your frustration, maybe take you seriously. When John is closing out the book of Revelation, he decides to do his own version of go ahead, play in the street, see if anybody cares. In Revelation chapter 22, verse 11, John says, "Let the one who wants to do wrong just keep on doing wrong. And if you want to be filthy, just go right ahead and be filthy." Now, that seems like a strange thing for an apostle to say, a prophet of God speaking God's word. But then he goes on to add to it, "Now, those of you who want to do what's right and be righteous, practice righteousness. And if you want to be holy, keep on keeping holy." You get the idea of what John's doing, right? John is basically saying is, nobody's going to make you do right or wrong. It's your choice. Whether you do right, whether you do wrong in every situation, it's your choice. You remember that beatitude we did before from chapter 22, verse 7? "Blessed are those who heed the words of the prophecy of this book." Basically what John is saying is, folks, you can heed the words of the prophecy of this book or not heed them. It's entirely up to you. God created us with free will choice. We can do what we want, anything you want. You want to do what's right, you don't want to do what's right. That's all up to you. But be forewarned. Judgment is coming. And Judgment Day is coming whether you like it or not. Regardless of what you do, you can ignore God completely. But a day of reckoning is coming. A word to the wise, if you're smart, you'll do what's right. Jesus speaks in verse 12. John records his words as, "Behold, I am coming quickly. My reward is with me. I'm going to render to every man according to what he has done." Now, in the Greek, the phrase "I'm coming quickly" is swiftly, just like that. And if you're not careful, I'm going to catch you unaware. I'm going to catch you off your guard. You're thinking, I got plenty of time to get things right, but I may sneak up and catch you before you're ready. You need to stay vigilant. You need to stay ready. He speaks of his reward. My reward is with me. And if you're not accustomed to hearing Judgment Day talk about rewards, this is what John has in mind. For those of you who choose to do what is wrong, then you're going to get what's coming to you, whether you like it or not. I warned you. I told you what to do. You ignore me, you're going to get your reward. Likewise, for those of you who choose to do what is right, you're going to get your reward as well. The reward that we get at Judgment Day, John says, is based according to our deeds, is what you've done. Now think about that. So often in the Christian faith, we talk about the heart. We talk about faith. We talk about our intentions, our commitment, all of those things. Listen, those are good things. But you know this, it's what you do that is the ultimate test. You see, thinking about what you intend to do, that doesn't really count. Talking about what you're going to do still doesn't count. What matters is what you do. And so John emphasizes you need to get yourself ready for the coming judgment. Get ready today and do what's right. Jesus speaks in verse 13. He says, "I'm the Alpha and the Omega. I'm the first and the last. I'm the beginning and the end." As he hits both sides, beginning and ending, first and last, Alpha and Omega, you're getting the idea so clearly. I'm the eternal one. Now, throughout the book of Revelation, that's typically what God the Father called himself. But as we close the book, Jesus says, describes me as well. And why bring that up right now in this talk about Judgment Day? Because the point is this. Judgment is going to happen. And even if you think, well, it's been so long, I bet they've forgotten. Nope, we haven't forgotten. Or maybe The judge will just fade away. After all, he lived a long time. I'm not sure he's even around anymore. Oh, I'll be there. I was there at the beginning. I will be there at the end. You will not escape my judgment. So get yourself ready. You can't outrun him. You can't outlive him. It's just simply a fact of life. As Hebrews 9:27 says, it is appointed for everyone. You'll die. You'll face the judgment. Better get yourself ready. Verse 14 says, blessed are those who wash their robes so that they can have the right to the tree of life, can enter the gates of the city. You'll recognize this as another beatitude, starting with that word blessed. There are 7 beatitudes, book of Revelation, scattered throughout the book, and we have finally reached beatitude number 7. Now look at this beatitude. Blessed are those of you who wash your robes. And the way it's phrased in the Greek, it refers to living the holy life every day. Blessed are those of you who keep your robes clean every day. You keep them washed, you keep them pressed, you keep them clean. It refers to an action you're doing now. It's written in a continuous action form. Now there's a similar passage in the book of Revelation, Revelation 7:14, and it talks about blessed are those who have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Now it's written in past tense form. It refers back to your baptism. In your baptism, you are dunked in the water, you were raised, you're clean. Your robes have been made clean, they've been washed in the blood of the Lamb. 7:14 is written to refer to that past event. But 22:14 is written in a present continuous form. Every day I'm keeping myself clean. And blessed are those of you who are doing that, because you're the ones who receive the blessing that's attached to this beatitude. And what blessing is that? Well, 2 things in particular. You get to eat from the tree of life and enter the gates of the city into heaven. Now he also talks about those who are outside in verse 15. Keep in mind, not everybody is going to make it to heaven. Now, who's going to remain outside? Well, he gives you a list of those. And outside of what? Well, you pick your imagery. You want to imagine that great city that John described in chapter 21? Then these are the ones outside the walls, outside the gates. You want to think about that Garden of Eden paradise in chapter 22. These are the ones who've been kicked and kept out of the garden. Either way, this is now our 3rd exclusion list in the book of Revelation. A 3rd list of here's the ones that God is not going to permit into his presence in heaven. First list was chapter 21, verse 8. Then chapter 21, verse 27. And now here in 22, verse 15. Now what he's doing by doing this 3 times is making a strong point about the reality of a judgment that separates mankind, sheep from the goats, as Jesus said. A judgment that separates between heaven and hell. And that is so contrary to the spirit of our day, where people think, oh, we're all going to get there. We're all pretty good people. We'll all make it to heaven. Not according to Jesus, as he's closing out this book of Revelation. Now, in this exclusion list of chapter 22, there's some names you and I will recognize if you've stayed with me through our 10-minute Bible study, because we've already seen these names before back in chapter 21. He's got in the list sorcerers, in other words, those who practice occult. The sexually immoral, those who don't play God's rules of sex and marriage. Murderers. Idolaters, those who cater to false gods and other powers. Liars. There's a new entry here. He speaks of the dogs. And it's not literal dogs. No, this is a Greek word that refers to someone who does things that are detestable, gross, abominable. You just say, ooh, I can't believe anybody would do that. Actually, it may be a new word for us, but it's an old idea. Because in the earlier exclusion list, the first one in the list would be those who practice abomination. Or as this list says, the dogs. Same thing. Now, as John is concluding the book of Revelation, he's putting a strong emphasis on doing right versus doing wrong. Living right every day versus those who live the way they feel like living, assuming they got plenty of time to get things right. Jesus speaks again. I, Jesus, I have sent my angel to testify to you these things for the churches. Notice Jesus identifies himself. This message is from me. Now, John may have spoken it for me, but he spoke what I gave him. I gave it to an angel. Angel gave it to John. John wrote it down and recorded it for the 7 churches. And of course, you and I, we read their message and gain from it as well. Jesus says, I'm the root and the offspring of David. I'm the bright morning star. Root and offspring, that's a phrase from Isaiah 11, verse 1. It refers to the Messiah. I'm the promised Messiah, Jesus says. And the bright morning star, I'm that new day that's dawning on the horizon. You see it coming up, you're thinking, today's going to be a great day. That's me. I'm the one who brings you your great day. So the Spirit and the bride, they say, come on. Let the one who hears say, come. Or to put it a different way, okay, folks, repeat after me. Heaven says come, now you say come. So we say come, come. Let's all say come, because that's really the message John wants to close with. And if you're thirsty, come on. Anyone who wishes can drink from the water of life without cost. You know, that's the way it is, folks. If you're thirsty for the river of life, if you're hungry for the tree of life, you can have it. All you got to do is make the choice each day to do what's right, to live right by God.